Hello everyone and welcome to another video which is going to be a review. I will be sharing my impressions of World Order, the new game by Varnavas Timotheou and Vangelis Begertakis, the guys behind Hegemonic Project Games. As most of you know, this is the company behind the highly acclaimed and multi-award winning Hegemony. I haven't actually managed to play Hegemony yet. I own it, but at some point in the future I will do so. However, this video is about World Order, their new game. This game is about geopolitics, World Order, and it's let me say up front that it's a video it's a game representing the world state in 2010, not today, and this has some bearing on how you perceive the game. I don't know how many of you have noticed that I have made a series of videos going through the game and explaining stuff. They're both in Greek and English, so if you're kind enough, you can go check them out and maybe press like or subscribe to my channel. But this review is based exactly on my impressions from this playthrough. Okay, let's start with a few disclaimers, so to speak. I played the game solo, which means I was playing on my own against the three bots, or automas as the game rules call them. There are actually two variants when you don't have the full 4 players. There is the simple variant in the base game based on the auto influence cards. We have seen them in another role during my playthrough, but the most complex or full, if you prefer, not entirely complex, but the better, let's say, version is the one in the Diplomacy and Dominance expansion, which comes already in the deluxe version. If you get the core version, you'll have to buy it separately, but I have used this expansion with the 3 fully fledged automas that control the other factions, and this is the for me it's the preferred way. I mean, if you've got 3 players, and then the last one, the 4th player, could be run by auto influence card, that would be fine, but for 2 players I would personally, my personal preference would be to run fully fledged automas as they are found in the expansion, of course, if you own expansion. Additionally, I didn't use any extra cards like, for example, executive orders from the base game or the expansions like World in Turmoil. I haven't used any of them, sorry, and this was done in purpose so as to keep things as simple as possible. I wanted the video to be mostly instructional and to teach as best as I could the base game and the base game flow. I know many of you have already commented in written, BGG, and in other places that the extra cards give more options, make the game better, which I sincerely hope so, but I wanted to keep things simple in this one. Also, I have used the base, mostly the base game components, apart from the metal coins. I use the base tanks, the meeple tanks instead of the miniatures, which are in the deluxe version, of course, and the various tokens and stuff like that, just for practical reasons. Okay, but let me say that the quality of the components is very high indeed. I was also happy with the quality of the components of Hegemony, no problems there, and they keep the same high quality components in order to even the base components, the base tokens and meeples, the cards, everything is of very high production quality. I'm totally happy with that, and I suppose most of you also are. Okay, let's get to the actual gameplay. The game belongs to the category that would say is easy to learn, hard to master. The core rules of the game and the game flow are very, very simple. In fact, after the first couple of rounds, I had learned what I should do. Of course, it's always wise to read the rules, to have a look at some edge cases, at least until after you've got a couple of plays under your belt. So yeah, mistakes always happen. I have done some mistakes, but this is unavoidable, especially when playing solo. Luckily, none of the mistakes I have made, and I have commented on them in my videos, are game breaking. I mean, okay, maybe a couple of points here or there, but the final placement, the final order, winning order, wouldn't change by those little mistakes. The hard part is not to play the game correctly. The hard part is to play it well, and it's a challenge. And why is it I call it a challenge, but in a good way? Okay, it's a challenge in a good way, because you have to commit yourself to a specific strategy. And this isn't like some other games that there is only one winning strategy, or there is a best strategy that will yield you the most victory points. There are many strategies that you can pursue, but you can't do everything all the time. You have to focus, and focus is also a term of the game. You have to focus on what you try to achieve, and largely this will be dictated by the faction you play. Each faction, this is an asymmetric game, obviously. I mean, there's no discussion about it, and there would be no point in making it symmetric. So each faction has some strong points, some strengths and weaknesses. The challenge is to make the best use of your faction's strengths and try to mitigate its weaknesses. And this is the way to victory. Also, let me say that the creators, the designers of the game, have published a series of strategy guides covering all 4 factions of the game. So I would advise you to, after you've got a couple of plays and understand what's going on in the game, to have a look at them and then start forming your own strategies. And okay, I was during, let me warn you, if you go and watch my videos, I was playing definitely sub-optimally. I was trying to show as much of the game as I could, cover as many actions with my cards, and so I wasn't playing very well. The Ottomans were doing their thing, which was quite effective, but we'll come back to that later. And okay, the game is, as I've already said, is based on the geopolitical situation in 2010. Not today, let me say it again, and the discussions about it are mainly moods. There is an expansion, World in Turmoil, which covers other aspects of the game, of the modern world with historic events and such, but I'm not sure, I can't remember up to which point in the future, in the present they go. So there is still, I have seen a debate about whether some factions are inherently weaker or stronger. It's a very interesting discussion, and there are many arguments. But my answer is it depends on how well you manage to leverage your specific faction's strengths. And even with the way the Ottomans play, all factions have a viable shot at winning the game. I mean, there is no faction that starts from a losing position. Yes, there are some factions which are easier to understand in terms of strategy, which you obviously know what to do. Just let me mention an example. If you get the Russian Federation to play the Russian Federation, then it would be very unwise of you not to lean heavily on their military strength. I mean, you could do that, but then you would have to form a totally different strategy, and would be in your knowledge that you don't use all of their strengths. Okay, they've got some other strengths, and the same goes for every other faction. Okay, there are certain situation combinations of players that will definitely favor more experienced players. But this can be helped in most of the games, at least this type of game. Experienced players will almost always have an advantage unless they become trapped in their own convictions, and yeah, they don't anticipate what their opponents are doing. Okay, of course, if your faction is stronger in economy or diplomacy, that's a little bit harder to play it well, because it depends, they're more dependent on timing of the cards and how well you manage things. But let me say it again, I don't think there is a predetermined losing faction or winning faction for that matter. Okay, let's say a few things about the cards of the game. The action cards are the main phase of the game, the main mechanic of it. The gameplay is simple, smooth, fast. The mechanism used during the action phase is very well thought out. I mean, the players play, and the Ottomans play a series of 4 cards, but taking turns, 1 card each, and then they go again from the beginning. So downtime is kept to a minimum. However, everyone knows about the analysis paralysis phenomenon. Okay, there's always going to be that player that tries to min-max everything, tries to think of every possible option, stuff like that, taking hours, okay, not hours, but taking a long time to decide what they'll play. I can only say in these cases what I always say, set a timer. That's all. Agree how much time, that's easy. How much time you've got to spend playing the game, divided by the number of rounds, divided by, and come up with a number. Of course, let me tell you that even with experienced players, you have to set aside a decent amount of time. I would say, I'm not sure, I think the consensus is about 3 to 4 hours, depending on the experience of the players. Of course, first games will take longer as everyone tries to get familiar with the rules, and also less experienced players will have to think things out more carefully, so that will take some time. But I think the general consensus is 3, let's say on average 4 hours. It took me way longer. The videos are not a good example of this, because I was playing and learning the game and explaining to the viewers what's happening. So yeah, it's not a good guide as to how much time it will take. I mean, yeah. Okay. Also, there are some very interesting and not so obvious, let me say, which I like, catch-up mechanisms built in the game. One of these is, I will not elaborate too much, I think it's very well done and balanced. One of these is the turn order, and what happens is that the player with the least victory points at the moment at the start of each turn will get to choose first in which order his faction or her faction will go. And this is interesting because playing first is not always the best option. Sometimes, and the Thomas do that as their pre-programmed, let's say, behavior, they tend to go last. Going last, especially during scoring rounds, is important because you get the last card and you get to react to whatever the players before you have done, and they don't have a chance to react. So yeah, it can be an advantage. But some other times when, for example, you want to be first to buy a card from the market, a very important card for your strategy, and you want to get it, and then you will try to choose first place, play first, so that you will secure this card or deny it from your opponent. And this comes to another interesting point about the interaction with the players. I know in this category of games, I don't like the term, but let's use it in the broad sense of Euro games. They're not famous for interacting. However, I think there is interaction in the game, but it is the same interaction that normal international politics allow. I mean, what's happening today in the world is not a very great example. Reality is not a very good example for this game, I'm afraid, but that's what was happening before, you know. And what's should, in my opinion, should be happening. I mean, okay, even today, we haven't seen a direct confrontation between, let's say, the United States and the Russian Federation. I mean, we've right here on the board, both have armies in the same region, but they're not clashing, and they're not clashing in the real world either. Okay, they do it, some would argue they do it by proxy, but yeah, that's the game. That's geopolitics for you. You act by proxies and you act in indirect ways. So there is interaction, but it's indirect one. It's trade. By trading, you can strip your opponents from resources they need later. You can engage regions they don't want you to, and you can place your influence where they would like to place their influence. So yeah, you are interacting, but not in a direct way. Okay, and I think that's as high an interaction as you can get from this type of game. I mean, yeah. Also, something about deck building. There is a market for action cards, and the players and the Thomas get action cards to augment their decks. However, there is no deck building in the long-term strategy sense that we have traditionally associated with deck building games. You get the card, what happens is that you get the card from the market, and the very next round you can play it, because these cards always go on top of your deck. So you're guaranteed that you will draw them and play them. So the game favors a strategic approach turn by turn. You don't plan on turn 1 what will happen on turn 3 or 4. You don't manipulate your deck so that the card you want will appear in a later turn when you do want. You have to make do with what you are dealt or you have bought for this turn. So you have to learn something very important too, and this is true in real world in my opinion. You have to implement your long-term strategy by short-term acting. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but it's a very important concept, I'd say. It's a very and I think this is in the nucleus of the game and the key to a successful strategy. Yeah, you've got to, as I've said, to set up a strategy compatible with your faction strengths, but you have to manage it short term. And this, okay, it reminds me, obviously not the same kind of game, but this way reminds me of another classic game, Twilight Struggle. I mean, you've got your strategy, you've got influence as well in various countries and regions, and you have to plan ahead, but you're dealt a hand, which is not always going to be the best hand. And the same happens here. The cards you will draw, apart from the ones you have bought in the market, maybe they're not what you'd like to have and what you'd like to do, but you don't have the luxury of waiting for the right cards to appear in your hand. You have to play as best as you can in your overall strategy concept with the cards you're dealt. And this is, I think this is true in real world as well. I mean, you've got to run a country, a faction here. You've got to run a faction day to day, and yeah, you've got your overall strategy, but you can't say, okay, never mind about this crisis today, but because in 3 years you can't do that in real world, and you can't do that during the game. You can't waste, let's say, a couple of rounds until you get your perfect hand. So that's not the traditional deck building, and yes, please be warned about it. Okay, and let me yeah, I should say more about the Ottomans too, because I have played against the Ottomans. I have played solo. Players would definitely play differently. Okay, the Ottomans play very well. They're easy to play, and I think they are quite balanced. They deploy their cards, their actions rather, intelligently, let me say. The action board which is used is a very clever implementation, and the rules are made so that the bots, the Ottomans actions evolve over the course of the game. They start with two different actions, and then they get more production cubes in one of these, and they get more, they lean towards some actions that will get them more influence, because that's at the core of the game, getting influence all over the map and winning regions by majority. And of course, yeah, forgot to mention that even a single influence cube is important, because apart from the victory points you get when you first place them and giving you area majority, each cube during the scoring, which is on the map, during the scoring rounds is worth 1 victory point. So potentially each cube you manage to keep on the map is worth at least 2 victory points, because we scored twice, end of third, end of sixth round. So yeah, that's even if you don't get, you have no hope of getting a majority somewhere or stuff. If you can place an influence cube, do that, because that's at least 1 or even better 2 victory points in the long run. So again, sometimes you'll get that close. Okay, and okay, the automas play in a, as I've said, in a clever way, yet simple. So what the automas don't do is that they're agnostic to the victory points, to the relative victory points of the various factions. I mean, what human players do is when someone gets way ahead in scoring, what not always, but what most commonly happens, or sorry, what usually happens, is that the rest of the players will team up and try to, mitigate this or prevent them from winning, from giving them an easy win. Well, that's open to discussion, but that's what usually happens. So the Thomas don't care about that. They'll try to do the best for themselves. They'll try to get the most influence they can for themselves and their majorities and stuff like that. So, but they don't care if someone is way ahead of them. They will not act in a way that will prevent them. Well, human players have the potential and the tools to do just that. Also, I have seen that the bots are, well, it's one of the limitations when we play against automas with a preset rules, are a bit dependent on the order of the cards they draw. I mean, because of the state of the map, I mean, sometimes they draw a card and they can't fully exploit it. The human players have knowledge of the map, they know which cards they've got in their hand, and they can play the card in their hands for their maximum benefit depending on the situation of the board. The Thomas can't do, well, they do that, they try to do that, but in a much simpler way. They can't do that as fully or as well as a human player who do. They're automas after all, they're not AIs. Okay, another buzzword for you here. So again, yeah, they're dependent on it, but they're generally they're doing pretty well. I mean, maybe not all the factions will perform equally, or the automas will perform equally well. For example, in my play, I only got third place, and I was hoping 50 points, at least 50 points, or rather, yeah, a little less than 50 points behind the first. I mean, the automas got first two places and way ahead of the rest. I got third place, and the other automa got last place, and what it was 10, 15, around 15 points behind me. So yeah, that was close. But the other two automas got way ahead of me. Of course, I wasn't playing optimally. I was just trying to. It was an instruction video. I was trying to show what happens and how the game works, and not try to stick to strategy. I did what I have said I shouldn't have done. I did. Well, that's it. So yeah, they have it in mind that they are dependent a bit on. I don't want to say luck. I mean, they've got ways to get something out of each card, and yeah, they've got enough privileges that will help them. So yeah, that's not. I don't call it luck. Maybe turn order can be suboptimal at times, but some other times they will give you a run for your money. That's and I think that's the case most of the time. Okay, and of course the same goes for the human players. I mean, you can draw a hand, and that hand can be completely useless, and there are a few ways that you can use strategic assets and discarding it, some growth cards that give you the option to change your hand a bit or draw some other cards, but that's not the norm. If you got a really bad in the sense of you can't do the cards don't help you do what you can or you should like to do. Yeah, that also goes for the players. So some last thoughts here. I think this video went for long enough. I'm very happy with the game. I really like the game. I think it will shine with 4 players, no question about it, but the autonomous implementation is also very good and very useful to learn the game and get some experience before meeting other players and playing the game. So yes, that's a very nice way to mitigate the experience problem. If I may try, if I'm allowed to make a prediction, I would say this game will be in the future, will be considered a classic game of the period in the future. I don't know if it will be considered as successful as Hegemony, but even if it doesn't surpass Hegemony, it's a very good game on its own. It implements, rather, I could risk and say it teaches geopolitics to its players. And yeah, there's also, I haven't mentioned it, but there's also a concept book which is just International Relationship 101. It's introduction to world order. You can, the title doesn't matter, but it's a very solid, the game is built on very solid concepts that will teach players. And with that, I would like to bring this video, this review, to a close. I don't usually give numbers out of 10 or out of 5 or anything. You could just go on BGG. I think the game is over 8 by now, and yeah, I think it deserves to go even higher. I won't offer a number, but as I've said, for me it's going to be a classic game representing this era, the geopolitical realities of 21st century. And okay, congratulations to Vangelis and Varnavas. They have given us another great game. Really enjoyed it, and yeah, if you are into this kind of games, I think you should give it a try. Get the game. It's totally worth it. That's all, and thank you for watching.